This, I think, is one of the most poignant objects that we have in the exhibition. Towards the end of the Anglo-Zulu War, it's becoming pretty clear that the British are going to win. Lord Chelmsford has suffered his disastrous defeat at Isandlwana, but then, of course, he's been reinforced by British troops sent from overseas, and he's managed to reorganise his forces, and he's now invading Zululand. And it becomes increasingly obvious, after a succession of battles in the middle of the war, that ultimately the Zulus are not going to win. But still, Lord Chelmsford is advancing towards King Cetshwayo's royal homestead at Ondini, because obviously by this point, personally, Lord Chelmsford needs to vindicate his military reputation. The British need some sort of closure, dare I say, vengeance for the victory, Zulu victory at Isandlwana. And therefore, the British advance is rolling on, and King Cetshwayo can see this is happening and realizes that actually, he's not going to have a successful military conclusion to the war by this stage. His young warriors are still defiant. They're still prepared to go out and fight for him. But the king is thinking, no, surely we can do something. What is it that the British wanted at the start of all this? Let's talk now before we have to go through the final tragedy of yet another battle to prove that you guys are winning. So from June 1879, he starts to send out messengers, feelers, to the British column commanders to say, okay, let's talk. Can we come to a negotiated settlement? What is it that you wanted? Now, in fact, of course, there's no mileage as far as the British concerned in negotiating at this stage of the war. General Lord Chelmsford needs that final victory to restore his reputation. He realises the war is going his way. The Zulus have got nothing to offer, really, to persuade him to talk rather than have a military confrontation. But you do get this rather sad procession of Zulu messengers who come down to various column commanders and who say, well, we've been sent by Isilio Cetshwayo, the Zulu king. What is it that you, Abelungu, you white people, actually want now? What do you want us to do to call off the fight? And Lord Chelmsford makes some fairly cynical responses. Oh, if you surrender an entire regiment, if you surrender all the guns that you captured at Isandlwana, where are they going to get them from? I mean, it would have taken, they were scattered through the country with the victorious warriors. These were not practical demands. Lord Chelmsford knew it. And so the negotiations go nowhere. And on the 4th of July, 1879, Lord Chelmsford defeats the Zulu army in the final battle of the war, the battle that the British call the Battle of Ulundi. But one of the things that we have in the exhibition here is just a piece, a fragment of that story when the Zulus were trying to open negotiations. Now, obviously, when the war is still hot and going on, it's quite risky if you're a Zulu to go marching up to British columns in the field. And they had to come up with a way of not getting shot when they're trying to talk to the officers and carry out these negotiations. And one of the British generals, a General Henry Hope Crelock, who commanded, what was it, the 1st Division advancing up the coast of Zululand in the middle of 1879, he hit upon the idea of giving them a flag of truce. And essentially he gave them a white handkerchief, which he stuck a stick through the corner of, and he gave it to the Zulu messengers. And he said, well, when you guys are toing and froing, wave this around and our sentries won't shoot you. And here we have it in the case here. And it's actually written on it by Crelock himself, as far as we can tell. Flag of truce, H.H. Crelock, he signed it, Major General, June the 26th, 1879. Napoleon's Hill, Umlalaz, well, that was the site of a British camp, which they'd called Napoleon's Hill. June the 26th is, 8 days before the Battle of Ulundi. So this is right at the end of the war, before that final confrontation. And he's written in the corner, given to uSintwangu, and Sintwangu was one of King Cetshwayo's royal appointed messengers, carrying messages backwards and forwards. And when you look at it, you can see it's kind of crumpled in the top left-hand corner, presumably where the stick originally went through. So to me, as I say, this is one of the more poignant pieces here, because this speaks to the inevitability of that final conflict and the futility of the Zulus still hoping that the British might be reasonable and call the whole thing off. Well, of course, no, they didn't. And the flag of truce in the end was a waste of time, like all of the diplomatic negotiations.